1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 74, and I don't know. It's Christmas special time.
It is. Have you had your advent calendar up till now?
No, I haven't had an advent calendar.
No, I haven't had an advent calendar in many years.
No, I've been. Oh God, what is going on with my mic? Sorry, we've got a bit of interesting things today. Blue, we got some topics. Blue watched the first episode of the new Wicher series. Media, we've got a very, very packed segment. I finished watching Arcane in like a day, and Blue also finished it. And then we also had movie night. So a lot there. And then finally, we get to segment 3, our annual Christmas quiz, which is being given by Blue this year.
So it is. It was you last year, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think there was a question I was going to write, and I was like, hang on a second, this rings a bell. Pun not intended.
That could be a test to see, how much do I remember of my own quiz.
Yeah. But no, I avoided them. Well, Wicher. So, talking of Wicher, did you know that as well as this second series, there's a spin-off series that's going to be happening as well?
I didn't know. What's it going to be about?
You look worried.
I am worried. Well, we started talking about this before we began the podcast. I mean, do you want me to tell you about my worry, or do you want to tell us about this first?
Well, I'll speak out this, and you can interject with the things that are prevalent in your mind at the time. There is a spin-off called Blood Origin, which is set 1,200 years before the events of The Witcher, so I'm not sure if you can really call it a spin-off.
Yeah.
In technical terms of it being a series, it's a spin-off, but Geralt's not in it.
Well, yeah, he's not that old.
Predating even the conjunction of the spheres, the cataclysmic cosmic collision that brought monsters and magic into an otherwise relatively mundane world. Think of it as a Witcher : the Old Republic, if you'd like.
Wait, how... So, it's just going to be medieval Poland, then?
With elf-looking people.
I thought...
Because I guess they were around before magic.
Yeah, that's what was confusing me, is...
It looked a bit Vikingsy, to be honest, when I watched the brief trailer.
I mean, they're basically just making, at that point, if they're doing it before the monsters and the magic, the things that kind of... Because the thing...
Make The Witcher.
Yeah, the thing that made The Witcher unique and kind of interesting was that it's all based on Polish and Eastern European folklore.
Also the fact that there is a Witcher makes The Witcher The Witcher.
Well, yes, yeah, but aside from the titular character, I'm talking about the setting.
Yeah.
The setting and the creatures and all the things. Because you get most of the monsters you get in magic or fantasy series in the West is like, dragons and demons and things and stuff that we're familiar with from like Western European folklore and Christian folklore. But then you go back to, but not really anything with Eastern Europe, which is kind of what made it interesting. Anyway, go on.
But so I watched the first episode of the new series, and I don't know, it didn't
hook you.
It didn't hook me. No, it was all right. It wasn't bad, but they introduced a character that was very looked like something out of a bad children's show. And they also used I'm sure this is a I won't actually talk about the monster actually, because you're going to be watching it at some point. But they took a very basic monster that everybody knows about and just very, very, very small tweaks to it, and that was kind of it. And the monster wasn't around for very long either. That's as much description as you're getting of it. I hope that's vague enough. It wasn't anything like fantastical or
Oh
new
my
or
god, the
something.
monster is Stuart Little.
Yeah, and those were the best parts. Those two things that I just described were the best part of the episode. I struggled remembering some of the more diplomatic side, the magical side, the what's her name?
Yennefer?
Yennefer. Her teacher, I forgot that she was her teacher for a while until Sui reminded me. And there's just a lot of talking on that side and no real action. So for a first episode to a series, which I think you need it to really grab a person, and it didn't really do that for me.
Yeah, I think they're hopefully banking on the fact that enough people liked the first season that they'll push past any sort of dryness in the beginning and the setup.
Well, I mean, it was a great filler episode.
I mean, to be fair, they did base it off of the books, and there is a lot of very dry politics in the books, specifically when you get to the mages, because the mages are supposed to be they're the political movers and shakers in the world. They're the people who are pulling the strings behind the scenes.
I wouldn't even call it politics, though. It was
Really?
just talking for the sake of talking.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. I mean, this is a good time to jump in and say what I was thinking earlier.
Yeah, go on.
So, I did enjoy the first series of it. I've been a huge, and I know we talked about it on the podcast about a year or so ago, but the first season was good. They've based it off the books and not the games. I've read all the books, and they do a very good job for the most part. Like, there are characters like they nailed Geralt, they nailed Dandelion or Jaskier as they call him in the series. I think they nailed Ciri and her mother, the Queen of Sintras. But they fucked up the mages. Like they got them so. They not all of them, but the one that annoyed me the most, and it really wasn't everything, but a good chunk of it, Yennefer. Like they managed to get she got better as the series went on, but there's a few things that they fucked up. One, they changed her backstory so that her tragic backstory is unique to her, right? Like, she's the only person who was found as a... By the way, if you haven't seen the first series, spoilers. She was the only one, who was found, and bought from a peasant family, and she was a cripple, and then they used magic to... Well, actually, no, this is something they changed, because... almost all mages had something wrong with them. Like, they were either from poor families, or they were, disfigured or crippled or something like that. And when they became mages, all of them used magic to make themselves, the most beautiful, attractive, whatever people they could. But what they did in the TV series was they made it seem like it was only her, and that she made some great sacrifice to do this because she ends up being sterilized.
I think it did say that they all did it, I think.
No, because
I mean, of the ones that were left alive, because everyone else got fucking pushed in the pond and turned to frog or whatever.
Well, they explicitly show that not everyone did it, because they show all the apprentice mages. Most of them are pretty attractive people, except for Yennefer, who's got a hunchback in the prequel part. Yeah. So that's one thing they changed. But the other thing they changed was the fact that when she decided she's going to use magic to become beautiful, it made it seem like it was this controversial thing, whereas it's just something they all did. And the idea that she got sterilized because of that is stupid. In the books, they say that I think it's something like 30 to 60% of mages just through the process of training become sterile. Like, most mages are sterile, is what they say in the book. So I think they were trying to make her stand out and seem more unique, and to me it just came across as pointless melodrama.
You spoke about Ciri just now. I can't tell, and I can't remember what the outcome was, because I think we did look it up afterwards, but either they got a different actor for Ciri for season 2, or it's just been enough years between when they were recorded that she looks like a different person to me.
It's possible. I mean, she was pretty young when they recorded the first season, I think.
She was 17 when they recorded the first, and now she's like 20.
And people can change a lot in 3 years. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I can remember what the first one looked like, but I haven't even watched the trailers for the second one yet, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not all we have regarding The Witcher. Oh no.
Oh, is there more? Okay.
Well, technically, it's not regarding The Witcher, but Henry Cavill, as you know, plays The Witcher, right?
Yeah, big fan of it.
Big old nerd.
And I think that's probably gone a long way to make his performance as Geralt as good as it is.
Well, now he wants to star in a Red Dead Redemption movie.
What?
I'm not even kidding.
That's awesome. Who do they want him to play? Is he going to be Arthur Morgan?
Let's have a look. Oh, hang on.
I would love it if they started making...
He did in Mass Effect.
Probably? I don't know. There were a lot... In the original Mass Effect games, there was a lot of really high-tier voice content, like voice actors.
I always remember the president, the person who played the president in the White House TV series, played the evil guy.
Oh yeah, Martin Sheen.
Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, Martin Sheen. He played the elusive man, and he was fucking awesome in that role. He was like, calm, charismatic, and menacing. It was like he nailed that role. I just recently replayed all of the Mass Effect games because I bought... Oh! That's something I could talk about. I beat the Mass Effect No Ass Edition. The legendary.
Yeah, you said. I don't know how noteworthy that is. Just you didn't fuck anyone.
No. That was all still in there. The only thing.
No Ass Edition, right?
Literally the only thing they changed, as far as I can tell, was they changed that one camera angle and it blew up out of proportion. I think they should have just left well enough alone and not done anything.
Wasn't there a mod to put it back in again? I vaguely recall.
Multiplayer?
I said, wasn't there a mod to put it back in?
Yeah, there was.
Also, okay, so the article's pretty unclear, but it says Cavill's a bit fresh-faced for Arthur Morgan, though maybe he could pull off a decent John Marston.
I love the fact that, like, video game movies are actually potentially being good.
Yeah, potentially, because, like, the last 20 years, any video game that's pretty much come up on a film or a TV series has been shite.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Doom movie? The one with
no.
The Rock?
No.
Oh, it is comedy gold. Think like the most, like, B or C tier sci-fi movie you can think of, with all of the stereotypical tropes that you get in sci-fi movies that have nothing to do with Doom, and a first-person scene where he's holding the gun out and fighting demons. It is
that's kind of The Rock's wheelhouse, though.
Yeah, this was early on in his career. Now he's like, he's become kind of a superstar.
Yeah, but he still does the same, B-movie style shit.
He does, but not in everything. Like, he's been in some pretty, like, mainstream kind of... I'm trying to think of... What's the... Is it Fast and the Furious that he's in?
Yeah.
Although I guess that kind of is... Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Have you seen his live-action Bambi on SNL?
No.
I've got to show you, it's fucking hilarious.
Okay, I do want to see this. I don't know, I feel like I haven't really watched SNL that much in the last few years.
Of course, not in America, but every so often it comes off my YouTube feed and I'm like...
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Well, the one they did, I think it was last October, was the Sam Adams beer one, where they had it's like, so we went out and asked real Bostonians what they think of this beer, and like it's like 4 of the people are exactly like just the stereotypical people they get for commercials who You know, they're just gonna be like, oh, I love the taste. Oh, this pumpkin spice really kicks it up a notch. And then it goes to the one guy who's the comedian there, Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And like, he's the actual Bostonian. Like, he's sitting there in like a, you know, plaid shirt and like shitty jeans, and he's got the mask, but it's like down around his chin. And he takes a sip, and he's like, I don't like that. That was good.
Leave it to a Bostonian.
Fucking love that. Anyway, yeah. So Henry Cavill, actor in video game movies, huge nerd.
Yeah, that's
well, hold
that's
on.
what I had.
All right. Well,
Go on.
I wanted to. We're
You got plenty of time, Phil.
okay. I do want to talk about the Mass Effect franchise because I did just recently beat it again. Specifically the Legendary Edition, and from what I found, they did make a lot of quality of life gameplay improvements to the first game. The second game was just still an absolute classic, and if the ass thing really bothers you, you can mod it back in pretty easily.
Yeah.
Then Mass Effect 3, I can't tell if I've just blocked it from my memory or if they actually removed it. But one of the most annoying things about Mass Effect 3 is that after every major mission, you'd have to go back to your cabin, and then Shepard would go through this stupid fucking dream sequence where he would whine over this little kid from Earth, and then you'd wake up and be a little bit traumatized or tell everyone you're fine. They either shortened those or they took a few of them out because I don't know. I don't remember going through them. And that's actually no. That's another thing. I knew there was some other game that I've been playing. Blue just reminded me. The other thing that I beat this week because I'm on vacation is Halo Infinite, and they made some interesting choices, some bold choices with it, and I think it panned out. This is the most Halo game that I've played. Like Halo 5 didn't feel like a Halo game at all. It had this weird squad-based combat. The storyline was an absolute fucking shit show.
Right.
Halo 4 had a decent story, but the gameplay was just Call of Duty with a Halo skin. No, Halo Infinite feels exactly like a Halo game should, and the storyline it gave me the same kind of feeling as back when I played Halo 1, 2, and 3, like the original trilogy, which kind of made the franchise.
Is it like an open world?
They did make it open world. That was one of the choices they made. Every other game in the Halo series, was you had a series of missions, and they were somewhat open in terms of how you could complete them and what order you could do things in, but it was a self-contained mission, and then when you finished it, you moved on to the next one. This one doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I've been the only content I've seen on it has been like very short YouTube videos from people doing like. Have you seen the I don't know what the relevance is to things that are in the situation around it, but there's a guy who calls these like half-minute clips of this grunt, basically shit talking.
Yep. So there's they added in some of the standard open world tropes. There are propaganda towers. There are bases you can take that act as fast travel points.
Yep.
There are enemy fortresses you can take down. Although, unlike what they are in like a Far Cry kind of game where there's like a million of them and they're all roughly the same, there are only 7 enemy bases in this one, and they're all pretty unique in what they are, what you have to do to take them over, and you know what's involved in that. But yeah, there are propaganda towers. That's what those are clips of.
Right, yeah, because I heard like one of them was a grunt being like, "John, we're afraid of a guy called John." They're talking about the Master Chief.
Yeah.
And got just these kind of funny little interactions. Which, I don't know.
I think a lot of the reason that most of the stuff you see going up about the campaign is stuff like that, stuff people doing whatever in the open world. A lot of people, at least a lot of the people who produce Halo content that I follow on YouTube, are being very respectful and not doing anything to spoil the story, because the story is really good. Like, it's not one of those stories that's trying its hardest to be deep and complex. It's not one of these stories that's trying to, subvert someone's expectations and pull some major plot twist. It kind of, you know roughly how the story's going to go, minus a couple big twists near the end, but not twists that like are shocking, but twists that you just go like, oh, and it gives you the feels. I ended up like just enjoying the story from beginning to end, and one of the reasons for that, they kind of just, the story really only focuses on the trio of three main characters: the new AI Master Chief, and the Pelican pilot who rescues him in the beginning of the game. And there are some enemies, but they kind of take a backseat. There are audio logs and things so you can figure out what happened to lead up to this point. And then near the end, there are some major plot reveals that kind of happen up and around you while you're playing. But
the only other video I saw was a guy, I think the video was captioned something like how a Spartan gets around or something.
Yeah.
And they climbed out of, I think it was a warthog, and cleared all their friendlies out of the way, and hit it with like some kind of power axe attack.
Crab hammer, yeah. I've seen this clip.
Grappled onto it immediately, and then like flew a mile into the distance and landed on the fucking mountain from Skyrim. It reminds me a lot of Skyrim actually, just looking at the map.
You like the grapple hook? I thought it was going to be just another like kind of vestigial like piece of equipment. I never used any of the other equipment in my playthrough in the game, because you can switch between, there's a grapple hook, a drop shield, a little scanner thing that shows you where enemies are, a dash attack, and there might be one I'm forgetting. But all of them are pointless because the grapple hook's amazing. The grapple hook lets you ground pound. The grapple hook lets you climb up mountains forever. It's just amazing.
I was going to say, wow, it's one of those moments where you start saying something and halfway through it, you're like, nope, don't know what I was talking about, never mind.
It's just gone now.
Gone.
But
okay, now I remember.
Okay.
Sorry. I was going to say, grapple hooks have kind of become a very common thing in games these days, and I'm not sure if I like it. Some games do it right, don't get me wrong, but a lot of games get it wrong. And having a steel wire that essentially yanks you along at hundreds of miles per hour in most games does not make sense. Granted, in Halo it does, because you're in like a mech suit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I made this observation. I was streaming Halo Infinite at one point, and I actually put this actually went into one of the clip videos that I put up. But the grapple hook, like I was going up a mountain, and I wasn't jumping or climbing or mantling. No, I was just grapple hooking onto rocks, climbing up the mountain over and over again, because I'd gotten the upgrade that reduces the cooldown. And I realized, just like, this is Just Cause 2. Like,
yeah.
Like it's the same physics-defying hookshot that you had in that game.
Except you got more reason to believe it in Halo, I feel like.
You do. Yeah. You're not you're not the crazy god of destruction from that game.
Wearing nothing but a t-shirt.
Yeah. T-shirt and blue jeans, and he can grapple hook from 1,000 feet in the air and not take a bit of damage. But excellent game. And they made a few other interesting decisions. Like, they released the multiplayer for free, and the campaign was a full $60. So that was, but for me at least, it was worth it, because it was a fun open world, one that they're because the game ends in such a way that you're still on the area. They're going to keep releasing stuff for the campaign, so I imagine they'll probably, depending on how well the multiplayer does, they might release free segments of the campaign to expand on from it, which that would be great. They're going to be adding in more features to it. Hopefully they're free, because the game, like I said, the campaign alone is $60. But you do also get some stuff for multiplayer for that price. So multiplayer is free, but they have cosmetics that you can buy. New pieces of armor, a battle pass, new, colorings for your armor, effects and things. But in the campaign,
Spartan with a bunch of crayons, just like
they're
gonna make mine all red and shiny.
That's literally the one I have. Mine is red and shiny.
Of course it is.
So but this is one of the things that they did to kind of make the potentially like make it a little bit more worth it for the $60 price tag for the campaign. And that was, they added in, like, there's unique armor pieces and stuff that you can only get in the campaign. So just as you're exploring around,
every
you can.
game has that these days.
It does, but again, I'm trying to
find the positives.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be positive about it. Personally, if I'm being like mercenary about it, if you're a fan of the Halo franchise in general, it's worth it for $60, 100%,
Yeah.
just for the story. If you're not a fan of the Halo franchise, maybe wait till it's on sale to buy the campaign, but I still think it could be worth it if that's your kind of game.
I saw an interesting post on something the other day, and it just simply said, what is your favorite game of all time, and what is the worst thing about it?
I like that question.
Yeah. Well, what would your response be? So, for me,
yeah, do
my
yours
favorite
first.
game of all time is Digimon World. And probably the first thing that I thought that was really, really fucking bad about it is you can't really play it these days without getting an emulator. Although that, I guess, doesn't do the actual game mechanics itself.
Wait, which game again? Sorry, my mother.
Digimon World.
Oh, Digimon World, yeah. But I mean, yeah. Oh, that's unless you have a PlayStation. I have a PlayStation.
It's true. I mean, I have a PlayStation 1, I just don't know where the game is.
Yeah. I have the game on my bookshelf over there. But, okay, favorite game of all time and worst thing about it. This is tricky for me, because it's something that's kind of changed over time.
Sorry, I did. I'll try and fill the air.
Yeah, keep going, because I actually have a really hard time answering this question.
Probably next would be like Sonic Adventure 2 for me. And I don't know, the worst thing would be that actually the later levels in the game I fucking hated. Like any of the space levels are just awful. You play Sonic Adventure 2 for the Chow Garden, let's face it. If you could minimize actual game time and maximize playing with Chow time, that's how I would prefer it, but yeah.
I don't know, I guess if I'm being lazy, I would... Oh, God. You see, there's it'd be easier for me to pick one from each genre, because it really depends on the mood I'm in. Like, I could... Oblivion is a big one for RPGs for me, but then I also really, really liked the amount of times I've replayed the Mass Effect games and the KOTOR games. Knights of the Old Republic.
For Oblivion over Morrowind. I thought you preferred Morrowind.
I think that Oblivion is kind of the middle ground. I did like Morrowind, but Morrowind, especially in its vanilla format, has a lot of things that just make it annoying. Oblivion solves a lot of those issues. They added in more voice acting. I think the world in Oblivion is a lot more beautiful. Like, if you go walking out in the fields, it's all bright colors and flowers and meadows, and they have different climates and biomes that you can go through. Halo 2 is obviously a huge contender, if only for the multiplayer.
I'm surprised I haven't mentioned StarCraft.
Yeah, it's true. StarCraft 2 is one that but I came into that, like, later. Like, I never played the I played the original StarCraft, but not much. Like, I played the campaign back in high school. Yeah, I guess I don't really have a. Here, you know what? We'll do this. Name me a genre, and I'll pick one from that genre, and then.
Probably I know you a bit too well.
You know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll just pick one from that that list that giant list of games. I'll use Oblivion.
Okay.
Which I guess maybe that's a bit cheap.
I mean that's great because I've also played Oblivion, and it's a good old game.
Well, I think the biggest flaw with it is the fact that, like, I guess the way dialogue works.
Really? I thought you guys said I've got a different reason.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Because it just feels it's a lot more.
Oh, well, the making people happy minigame.
Yeah.
You talk about that.
Yeah, that one. That's a pretty awful thing for the game, but even that's not too bad. I guess
the
it's
worst
shallow.
thing for me,
like the way you interact with NPCs, both big story ones and not story ones, it's just very shallow. The conversations.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess they didn't have time.
You don't really play those games for the dialogue and things.
Unless you're playing the fucking Shea Gorath segment, the DLC.
Oh, that's just amazing.
It's just a masterpiece. The fact that loot scales the level always frustrated the shit.
Oh yeah, actually, that's a big thing. So you can be, just you level 1, you go through a dungeon and you find some leather shoes. You level 50 and you go through a dungeon and you find a diamond encrusted helmet that was
the same dungeon. I should point out is what he means.
Yeah.
Literally, when you kill a demonic warrior with full battle armor and a huge axe and shit, and he drops an iron knife when you kill him, and it's like, very frustrating.
But that is something you can mod out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I played
on the PlayStation, you can't.
No, that's the thing. That's kind of why I didn't choose Morrowind, because the vanilla version of Morrowind there's a lot of quality of life stuff that I like putting back into it.
God, I do miss Oblivion. I've been watching so much Josh Strife recently, clips of his playthrough of it, and it's just like, I remember this mission.
It's a fun thing.
Stuff like that. But yeah.
Well, I think I've told this story before, but one of the things I did in high school was like Morrowind for the original Xbox and then later Oblivion. I mean, sometimes what we'd do was, like, my high school buddies, like, they'd come over my house and we'd just set up another TV and they'd bring their Xbox and we would just play Morrowind or Oblivion in the same room. And or just, like, make up ridiculous concepts for characters. And because it was just a fun game to chill and play. And I'd just be like, hey, look, I just did this stupid thing, or something like that. Anyway, let's get on to the interesting stuff. I want to talk about Arcane.
Okay, yeah, let's get to media.
All right. This is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, our media segment. And, oh boy, got a lot to talk about. So, coming up, start with Arcane because I really want to talk about it. And it's fresh in my mind. And 2, we watched, what's the first Batman movie? Batman Returns? Batman
Begins?
Batman Begins. It's the one before Dark Knight. Dark Knight's the only one I remember the title of because that movie was fucking phenomenal. For different reasons.
Dark Knight Rises?
That's the third one.
Oh, okay.
Third one's Dark Knight Rises. That's one with Tom Hardy wearing a jockstrap on his face.
Right.
So the
we'll start with Arcane.
Arcane, which for those that don't know,
not Arkham.
Arcane, yes, Arcane, like magic. It is a animated, like a 3D animated TV series on Netflix that's made based on the game League of Legends, which is a MOBA that's been out forever and famous.
I wouldn't say based on the game, based on the characters from
the characters from the game. Yeah, sorry, I should clarify. But against all odds, in this current year where a lot of exclusive stuff for Netflix, and particularly a lot of animated stuff, tends to suck, it was actually good. And not only was it good, it was... I'm going to come right out and say that I think it was probably one of the best pieces of TV entertainment that I have seen in, like, at least the last 5 or 6 years, probably longer than that.
Really? Better than The Expanse?
Yeah. I would rate it higher than The Expanse.
Correct.
I really like The Expanse, and that show is also coming back out. The first 2 episodes are out so far. But this one was just... Like, I am somebody that always needs to multitask, right? Even if I'm watching something new, I'll usually have it on, and I'll be watching it, but I'll also be doing something over here, or thinking about something else. This series, I was watching it. Like, I was sitting there and doing nothing but watching it the whole way through. It had me that riveted to it. Because, A, it's visually gorgeous. The character writing is phenomenal. Like, what I mean is, like, nobody is black and white in that series. Like, nobody is 100% good, 100% bad. Everyone has, like, a lot of moral complex. Even the person who is the villain of the series, you see, like, redeeming features in them.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, just not to spoil anything, but the very last scene in the entire series in season 1 is fucking heart-wrenching. And epic, and just it's just, and it resolves everything so it's just so good. Oh man, and
it resolves everything while opening up so many new questions.
Exactly. They tie up a lot of the key points in season 1, and then set up all the next ones for season 2. It's just, I thought good writing was dead.
Jinx, of course, voiced by Henry Cavill.
If you want to, so let's to set the scene. One of the main characters is, so in the video game, she's called Jinx. See, I already knew.
Are we going from episode 1 doing this episodically?
I don't know that we should go through everything. I think I'm going to go with broad strokes, but I don't want to spoil the ending because I'm going to highly recommend people watch this.
Okay.
But going through the series, like, it opens up and it establishes the setting. You've got Piltover, this, like, steampunk, technocratic, like, wealthy, affluent city, and then another city that's kind of linked to it, this lower city that is kind of crime-ridden, down and out.
The slums.
Yeah, essentially the slums of the... But that's all ostensibly parts of Piltover, the wider city there. And
it's very We Happy Few, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, We Happy View.
Especially because there's like a bridge between the two.
A bridge between the two towns, yeah. We Happy Few is a video game about like a British dystopian society. But in that one, the people who are rich and affluent are basically getting by taking happy pills.
Yeah.
This is very different, where the rich and affluent are actually rich and affluent.
I know, it's just because it was islands and they're connected by a bridge, and it was the scenes, the scenery, looked very similar. Like, it has very nice houses on one side, and then shit broken town on the other.
On the other, yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of establishes that dynamic, and the first few episodes kind of follow this ragtag group of kiddos. Who all, like, I guess they're orphans. They all kind of hang around this one bar that's owned by this dude who's sort of like
a legend.
Yeah, he's like this legend. He tried to lead a revolution against the upper city at one point and, get independence from the upper city. That didn't work out, and so now he's just doing his best to keep the peace and make life as good as he can for the people around him. And they also show, like, how kind of the better half live. They follows this one guy, Jace, who's like this genius at the academy, who's trying to work something out. It follows the story.
He's not the highest of the highest. He's like a shoemaker,
hammer maker.
His father was. Hammermaker, that was
yeah, Hammermaker. And so he just through a wealthy patron, he's made it into this academy and started to build stuff up. And then
scientist.
It also follows like the politicians, like the council members who are all making decisions for the city and for both cities and dealing with issues like that. And then of course there's the enforcers, which are the police force from the upper city, but they also police the lower city, and they're not too gentle with the people from the lower city.
Yeah, this is something that I spoke out of the list here. I was like, I hope they weren't doing it on purpose, but there's a lot of political messaging, I think, in that. Especially where it comes to the Fireflies, who we find out later, who is led by that particular person. And he's like, yeah, all the cops are...
Yeah, I didn't get that. I think they managed to very artfully sidestep that. Like, because that would have been the obvious thing for them to do. They could have, taken the easy route and tied it into modern day political bullshit, but they didn't. Because everything that happened in that series is all canon in the game. Like, the Fireflies, they're actually a faction in the game. The people from the lower city, all those, they're actually a faction in the game. And so, like, none of those factions actually, it's all background lore in the game, but it's nice to see them fully fleshed out like that. But anyway, so it follows these different groups, and the first few episodes follows this one time period, and then there's a series of fairly tragic events. Two of the orphans, right, Vi and Jinx, who are kind of like the main... Two of them...
Episode 3.
Yeah, two of the main characters in the series. Let's say a tragic event happens, because again, I don't want to spoil because it's such a good scene.
It's a pinnacle, yeah.
A tragic event happens. Jinx does something that's somewhat unforgivable.
Powder does something that's somewhat unforgivable.
Powder, yeah, she isn't Jinx yet. But you see, I played the game, so it's easier for me to remember her as Jinx. Anyway, and the two sisters get separated, and basically then it fast forwards like a few years. The guy at the academy, Jace, despite like almost getting kicked out of the academy, manages to revolutionize, society and bring all this brand new fancy technology that makes the town like the trading hub of the world. But now because of that, he's forced to like play politics and deal with stuff like that. It's following down in the lower city what's happened to Powder, who's now called Jinx. How the like crime has gotten so much worse, and like these new crime lords basically rule the city using drugs. And the story continues from there, and it follows how all of these different factions and characters interact. And I don't want to go too deep into the story because I'm going to emphasize 100% watch this series. It's 9 episodes long. Watch it. It's so fucking good. Like, it is a very stylized, like, 3D thing. It's a very realistic animation, but it is animated. And it does get very over the top because it is a fantasy series too, where you've got realistic for animation. Like if you're gonna, like, how you can have really, really cartoony looking animated stuff, and then you can have animated stuff that looks like real people.
They have a higher level of texture and detailing, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying that like this is much closer to the animation that looks like real people.
Right, yeah, it's not Pokemon style. No.
Yeah, exactly. But then they also go into scenes where it gets overly stylized. There's all kinds of neon colors and flashes, and
which I actually love.
The scene with Jinx and Echo on the bridge, by the way, and they go into like that sketchy art style. I loved that.
Yeah.
Oh God. But just the entire series is an absolute visual treat, and I cannot wait for season 2 already. And I hope they can keep it up, because I loved season 1. Anyway, that's me gushing over it. Do you have anything to like dampen my spirits?
It's one of these stories that's very hard to talk about without spoiling something.
Well, let's just say that now then. we're going to venture into maybe mild spoilers here as we discuss a little bit. So if you really don't want to hear them, I've said my piece. Go watch the series, and then come back and listen to our Christmas quiz.
Yeah. I mean, because we both just finished it. I want to talk about the Mad Hatter Tea Party, as it were.
That was amazing. Okay, so near the end of the series, kind of you get to the pinnacle where a lot of the main characters that have been involved with stuff going on in the Undercity all come together in one room, and not by choice. Like, Jinx kind of sets them all up and has them all restrained at this long table. And this is where, like, her sister is finally understanding exactly how deep her, like, trauma and psychosis goes, because she's got, like, doll facsimiles of the friends that died, back in episode 3, seated at the table, and then as things get more intense, she starts shouting at them as if they're talking to her.
And shooting them.
Yeah.
But no, that scene, more than anything, really made... I love to love a villain.
Yeah.
I think Light Yagami from Death Note is probably one of my favourite characters in any series.
Yep. Yeah, he's a great villain.
And the villain in this is just on point, because he's not doing it out of just pure hatred for everyone and fuck the world. He's actually doing it for... Well, in his eyes, he's making a good impression on the world.
Yeah. He's trying to gain independence for their lower city.
And when everyone thinks he's going to be an absolute asshole, he actually... Supposedly, I mean, we still don't know if we can trust him or not.
Well,
but I mean, he was... Yeah. In his last words, something very key was said, which was really impactful, I think.
Yeah. To give context, he gets an offer to basically get everything he wants in terms of concessions from the upper city. All he has to do is give up Jinx. And it's left very ambiguous whether or not he was going to do it. And then, like, one of the last lines he has is, looking right at her, just like, I never would have given you up no matter what, or something like that. And it's such like a emotionally poignant scene because of the context of everything that was happening around that moment. Oh, you're right. It's so hard not to spoil. I do want to just talk about it, but
I think probably my favorite character, though, if not him, is actually the not Jace, the Victor.
Oh yeah, Victor. Yeah,
I really like Victor's character, even though he doesn't play a very big part.
The scenes he are in, are good.
Yeah, I just liked his standing, his viewpoint on the world, and
yeah, Victor in the context of the series, he's a guy who has, from a childhood, he's had a crippled leg. He's from the lower city and has kind of worked his way up, and through his mind alone, he made it up to the upper city, into the academy. He was the assistant to, like, one of the most prestigious professors there. And then he partners with Jace, and then they together invent this new technology.
Yeah, in a move that could potentially have crippled his own career and sent him back to the
lower
again.
Yeah. And so, and then the two of them, they have a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jace, though, so much. I didn't mind him so much early on, but when he started fucking that person...
Yeah.
My respect for him quickly went downhill, as every decision he made after that point was entirely based on just nothing. Just stupid decisions after them.
He's one of those people that I think... he's clearly very intelligent, but he's also got that, like, charm and charisma, and he lets all of that go to his head, I think. Like,
sorry.
No, I think he gets what he wants too often, and that starts to, like, that actually turns into a character flaw for him.
When Vi approaches him, I was mad that he was just, like, would so easily just give in and say fuck the council.
Hmm.
And then he started actually doing it, and I was like, okay, this is cool. He's actually making a change. And then he makes that change, and there's like 1 in 100 people in the attack die.
Yeah, an
And
innocent
then he's
civilian
like,
dies.
oh, this was all a complete mistake, and it wasn't even a civilian. It was someone who worked for the enemy.
Yeah.
It was just a child.
Yeah, I had the same reaction you did. It's tragic that the person died, but what do you think? You're firing a fucking you're firing a cannon inside a closed space.
Yeah, okay, someone died.
Yeah,
Bad. There's 99 other kids though that you just removed from making drugs for a living.
Hmm.
They probably have better prospects now, and you probably should kept doing this. Instead, it's like, oh, everything I did was a mistake, and here are the keys to my balls, and have the kingdom.
Yeah, he's sort of. I don't know how I feel about. Like, he kind of goes back and forth for me throughout the series. Because at first he's somebody who, like, he's basically the lowest of the upper class, right? Like, he's from a poor, lower noble house in the upper city.
Mm-hmm.
He basically only gets in there through the good graces of his patrons, and as soon as he does something wrong, he sees how quickly that can be ripped away from him, and he at first wants to be very principled and make the world a better place and be moral and be. This was the scene that I think maybe I'm reading too much into it, but there's a scene where he gets elevated to a position as a result of some events that happen earlier on in the series. Essentially, he becomes a council member in a way to kind of placate some concerns about corruption and stuff like that. And he goes in hard, like, we're going to fight corruption, we're going to fix all this stuff, we're going to do all this. And then one of the other council members reveals to him that, like, yeah, they're taking a piece, they're taking a piece, they're taking a piece. You've just made a lot of enemies. And she kind of forces him into, not forces him, but puts a lot of pressure on him to basically just allow some of the more harmless corruption through so that you can go after what really matters. And I think in that scene, in my mind, what he was thinking back to was when he nearly got kicked out of the academy and he saw how quickly everything he had could be taken away from him.
Just tell me one time in the whole series where he was in a one-on-one conversation with someone and they didn't change his mind about an important subject. Hell, even when he tried to fucking kill himself after the initial hearing, like, what's his name just came in and was just like, nah, here's your diary, let's get back to work. He's like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself anymore, I'm just going to keep working. And, that scene in particular, I do like that they then do a role reversal later on.
Yes, yeah. With
that was good.
Yeah, there's... I think... I can only really think of two conversations like that. But you're right, for the most part. That is, I think, one of his...
Even his fuck buddy's mother just fucking is having a wank in a bath, and she can still persuade him to change his entire ideology.
That was a funny scene. That scene made me laugh. 'Cause she... Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, but I do want to get onto Batman because we did watch that as well.
Yes.
But I just can't recommend it enough. Watch the series.
Watch Arcane.
It is one of the best pieces of writing that I have seen in a TV show, bar none, in years. So just watch it. Even if you don't really like animated stuff too much, I think you'll probably still end up enjoying this. So good. So good. It annoys me now because season 2 won't come out for probably another 8 or 9 months.
Wait, better than the live action Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, imagine that, not getting cancelled after the first season.
Yeah. See any more of that. Anyway, yes, Batman. So it was my choice this week. And I chose the first of the Dark Knight trilogy series, Batman Begins. And yeah, I hadn't seen it in many years, but all I remember is that it has Thomas Shelby and Liam Neeson in it.
As the Scarecrow. It took me, and I said this when we watched the movie, but it took me a while to realize when I started watching Peaky Blinders that was the same actor.
Right.
Because the guy that plays Thomas Shelby in Peaky Blinders is the same guy that plays Scarecrow in the in the Dark Knight Batman movies. Yeah.
But no, Scarecrow, very interesting character. Using nerve gas to make people see hallucinate into seeing what they fear the most.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plot holes in the story, which we've discussed already.
Yeah.
Off podcast. But generally, pretty good film. And also, maybe even more importantly, you have to watch it before you watch the second one in the series, which is a true masterpiece, which I'm sure we'll be watching at some point.
We will, yeah. Dark Knight was just... It's one of those movies that kind of... They just... It was like a must-see movie. They lost some things, I think.
Yeah.
So in the first movie, the one that we actually watched for this movie night, the city felt a lot more comic booky, right? Like it felt like Gotham, the way the shots they had of Gotham, the way it looked, you know, in the especially with the fog, with the monorail and everything like that, it felt much more like the fictional city Gotham, whereas in the second movie, it kind of just felt like, well, this is just Chicago.
I would say, in the first movie, it looked like every street had a mugger on it waiting to stab you.
Yeah.
In the second film, I think you're right, it looked like an everyday city. It looked like, you know, you walk out into the street and that's what you see. And the third one looked like a comic book city where there are tanks rolling around on the street and people in hot air balloons waving at you as you walk down the sidewalk kind of shit.
Yeah.
So they went from very serious to realistic to comical. So I think, God, if there's ever a fourth one, it's going to be like a fucking anime.
Well, they've moved on now. Now they've got the Ben Affleck Batman. Which...
Wait.
Yeah, Justice League. They've got a new Batman now.
I haven't seen any of the...
I've seen the Batman vs. Superman movie, but I've only seen it in Spanish.
Oh, really?
I watched it on the way back from the Dominican
It can't
Republic.
have been that great, because I don't really remember hearing much about it at the time. I remember it coming out.
I mean, it was okay. They changed a few things. Like Batman's a cold-blooded killer in that one. Like,
yeah,
he
Which
straight
is kind
up.
of his whole thing is not being a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, exactly. He straight
He
up
killed a lot of people in the first Dark Knight, right? Batman Begins, sorry. He killed a lot of people.
How do you mean?
Well, like, okay, the main villain, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I don't have to kill you. I'm just going to leave you in this train which is going to crash and you are going to die, even though I could save you.
Yeah, it's true. I think we talked about that a little bit after we watched it too. It's a loophole. You know, he didn't kill him. He just put him in a position. There's a line from Firefly actually that ironically that I think applies to this. There's a scene between one of the main characters in that and one of the other characters who's a bit of a con artist.
Right.
And she's saying like, I didn't kill people or something like that, and she's like, yeah, I don't imagine there's too many that you do kill. You just put them in a position to die easy. And I think that's the loophole he went with there. He didn't kill him. He just,
To make you think of that Black Mirror episode.
Which one?
The one where a guy can, he's a pickup artist and he's using technology to see through a guy's eyes to help him get
that
laid.
one. Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
I liked that episode.
I'm sure you remember what happens. We definitely can't talk about that.
No, I think that the ending to that was seriously fucked up.
Oh yeah, I mean every Black Mirror episode is pretty fucked up. Apart from the one where they were just like playing Street Fighter and fucking each other. Like, that was very fucked up. That was just
I don't remember
remember
that
that?
episode. No, I don't.
Oh my god.
I kind of dropped Black Mirror after a while. Like the first season or two, we're not talking about Black Mirror, but the first season or two I thought were really good, and then after like season 3 and 4, they started like trying to have a moral to the story.
I mean, I think they always kind of had a lesson.
They did, but it was more subtle. Like the one that we're talking about, like it shows that. So pick
That was
up
a deep episode.
that one. Like there's a lot of fucked up things that happened in that episode. A lot of fucked up things. I remember the whole remember the whole thing with them people blocking each other with the eyes. I thought that was so fucked up. Also, who would do that? You'd think like people would get murdered all the time. Like, can you imagine being in a heated argument with somebody in person, and they block you? So suddenly, you just most people would just fly into a rage and beat the shit out of the person that just did that. Like, if you're already in a heated argument, tempers are already running high, and then you block someone, like, so you're just basically sticking your fingers in your ears, going no 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 no.
I love it, like a profanity filled song, like puts up their middle finger and it just like bzzz.
Yeah. It's like, is it going to blur out the punches that are going to be landing in that person's face?
It's just going to do like some games to change their words to be really nice, like, I hope you're having a really nice day.
That episode, that episode, by the way, is because of that particular thing with the blocking and the fact that people don't get their asses kicked when they block someone. Yeah. That is something that could only happen in the UK. Because the fucking British are the only people polite enough not to kick the shit out of somebody when they did that.
Yeah. Honestly. And, so yeah, a lot of the episodes, whenever I went in to watch the Black Mirror episode, I needed to be high energy and ready to be like my mind just beaten into a pulp by depressing shit. Because you have to go with that, because some of them really do.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about the Street Fighter one because it was fucking funny as fuck.
Okay.
All of the other ones are like someone basically dies in all of them. At least one person, quite a few.
Dies or their life is ruined in some way or something like that.
A lot of terrible things. In this, it's like, a new game has come out, and it's like VR. So you kind of sink in with the game, and suddenly you become the character, right? And you've got all these like crazy kung fu moves and shit, 'cause it's like a Tekken game. And it's this dude and his best friend are playing the game, and it's like Xiao Yu from Tekken versus Ken or whatever. And they fight, and one person wins, and then they're waiting for the game to like, alright, queue up the next round. The dude's like, oh, it's weird, we can just do weird stuff. And so they do weird stuff.
Yep.
These two dudes just sit on the couch with wives, and they're just like, and then it becomes like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And then they do it again, and then we get this rhythm of doing it. And like, it's just so weird.
That is so. This reminded me of a news. Also, do you remember when this segment was talking about Batman? There's how Facebook renamed itself Meta.
I think it's the company that owns Facebook. I don't think it's Facebook.
They invented a new company called Meta, and then it owns. Basically, it's just a way for them to dodge complaints against Facebook. But they. One of the new things they're launching is VR for Facebook, and like putting it on. And
why the fuck are you on VR for Facebook?
I don't know, but I was Raymond sent me an article. Apparently, there's an issue where like some beta tester for it was complaining that people were running up and groping her.
I have a tester that was a beta, or a beta tester.
A beta tester who was playing the game and was complaining that random people would just grope her while she was using the thing. Like in VR, so nothing's actually happening.
I actually saw something about this.
Yeah.
When I saw this, I can't remember. The moment I saw this, I was like, These people haven't played VR chat.
Yeah. No, I don't know if you remember that there was like this puzzle solving game that you, me, Mass, and Scott played for a while, and it had VR support. And one of the first things I did was run up behind Scott and grope him. Like, one of the first things that...
To be fair, though, you're just like a floating mannequin body and a floating mannequin head with no features in there.
But hands.
Yeah, I guess so.
But like the Star Trek bridge simulator, Juan Raymond and I played that, and one of the first things we figured out we could do was flip each other off. You can only stick up your index finger, but that immediately became flipping people off.
Yeah.
Like, you can't... People who expect someone to go online and be in a video game or a VR setting or some sort of an anonymous setting like that and not immediately act like a dick have not spent any time on the internet at all.
No.
It's one
Until
of the...
there are literal internet police, there will always be this shit.
Yeah, and why would you ever want that? Like, no one is actually being hurt. And plus, Facebook pointed out to this person that there is a button you can put on to put a bubble around you, so people can't come near you if you don't want them to.
Oh.
And she just didn't press the button.
Well, she didn't know about it then.
Yeah, it could have just been somebody that didn't know the feature was there.
So you didn't really want to report that you didn't really know what you were doing when you were playtesting it.
Yeah. Well, and there's also the fact that she reported it to a news outlet instead of reporting it to Facebook.
Well, I hope she got fired, because I'm sure there was an NDA for that.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, back to Batman.
Yes.
We went from Batman to Firefly to Black Mirror to people getting groped on Facebook.
To Firefly? When was Firefly?
The quote? About putting people in a position to die easy?
That's too long ago.
Anyway, so yeah, the I think most people know the plot to this movie. It opens up with Batman fighting Qui-Gon Jinn on the ice, and then it turns out that's like a flash forward to the middle of the movie. Then it goes back to the beginning, where like Bruce Wayne, he sees his parents die because he fell down a well and he saw some bats and it scared him, and then they went and they saw a play and that kind of reminded him of bats, so he got scared and they left the theater. His parents get shot. Sorry.
Which, by the way, bats, really fucking bad rep in the media. Have you seen like any of these YouTube channels where it's like fruit bats in Australia? They're fucking adorable.
Bats are actually kind of cute.
They are so cute. They make cutest little noises as well.
Yeah. There was a bat that
I just feel bad. They got such bad rep.
In third grade, there was a bat that got into our classroom and was flying around, and teachers all told us to get out of there so they could get the bat out. And I was like, oh, it's so cute, though.
What's it gonna do? Bite you?
That's what they were afraid. They were afraid it might have been rabbit or something like that. It's a bunch of kids, and the teachers don't want to be liable if the kids.
What on earth was the bat flying around in the middle of the day?
It had somehow gotten trapped. Something scared it or spooked it, and it got trapped in the building and couldn't get out. But yeah, that was the other thing that was worrying, was it was a bat flying around in the middle of the day, so there might have been like something wrong with it, disease or something. But anyway, yeah, so that happens. Bruce Wayne's parents die. Everyone knows Batman's backstory. Fast forward to when he's a 20-something, he's home from college. The guy that shot his parents is on trial. He goes to see the trial, and he was going to speak and say something bad about the guy, and he didn't, because he was planning to shoot the guy as he came out of the courtroom. But as he came out of the courtroom, a gangland hit shot him. Like, just some guy who was hired by the mob kills him, and then he's being driven home by his best friend, Rachel, who is like, oh, you're better than all this, and he's like, no, I'm not. I'm just so sad because I couldn't kill him. And then she slaps the shit out of him and says something. Yeah. She actually, I think, hold on, I wrote something in my notes about this.
This was before he went off, isn't it? This is before he had any of the training.
Yeah, this is before he had any of the training.
Yeah, he's a bit of a whiny bitch.
Yeah, and
which I guess is on purpose, because there's meant to be story progression of him developing as a character, and they did that.
It is, and what I wrote in my notes on that scene was hilariously naive woman. Like, I thought that was a very naive stance to have, because she's of the opinion that, like, just that any sort of justice is ever going to be served when there's that level of corruption. I think that she should have been, well, not that she should have been, but I at least was a lot more empathetic towards his point of view. I mean, think about it. Your parents are killed by this guy in the street for no other reason than, and they were giving him the money, they were giving him the necklace, and he just freaked out and shot them both. And then he's going to be, let out of prison just because he, gave up some other criminals. Like, I get how it makes sense from a prosecution standpoint, but it doesn't make sense from a justice standpoint. At least not in my opinion. And so I wouldn't do it. I would never endorse doing something like that, but I can empathize with Bruce Wayne's position that, well, if the justice system isn't going to do anything about this guy, he will. And I think
the whole, if it can save 10 lives instead of 2, that's kind of the end result you have to look at, really.
Maybe.
And then catch him when he does something else stupid and put him away for life on double the charges.
Maybe. I don't know. It seemed like he'd just get out again. But,
well, if you had even more info about even bigger crime boss, great.
True. But again...
And then Batman does something fucking stupid. He's not Batman, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he walked... Well, first of all, she kind of, like, Rachel taunts him by bringing him down to, like, this restaurant that's, it's where all the big gang people hang out, and it's like, you want to go see the guy that's responsible for it? There he is. We all know where he is, but we can't do anything about him. And so he just walks out, goes right in there, like, calls her bluff, talks to the big mafia boss. The big mafia boss calls him a bitch, says, hey, you should be thanking me. I shot the guy for you. And then he's like, there's a council member over there, there's a police member over there, and I wouldn't think twice about shooting you in the head right here. And then that kind of message kind of gets through to him that Bruce's his affluence, his nice life, he thinks he has nothing to lose, but really, he's got tons to lose. And I think the line that the mafia guy uses is, people from your world have everything to lose, or something like that. Because he's like, you haven't thought about your friend that works in the DA's office, you haven't thought about your butler, you haven't thought about, this and that. And that's when Bruce decides, all right, you know what? I am going to go find out about this. And he runs off to become a criminal in all corners of the world. And this is something that so he gets arrested for stealing from a factory, like he's working from some gang in Southeast Asia or something like that, and the
wasn't stealing from a factory.
They were stealing from a truck or something like that. They were stealing something.
He was working in the factory and they were, I think, making illegal substances.
No, they were stealing. They were stealing stuff from a warehouse or from a truck. And this is a very particular point because the cops are like, he's like, you're just petty thieves or something like that. And then Bruce says, I'm not stealing anything. And then they show that the boxes they were stealing say Wayne Enterprises on them. And you're supposed to draw the conclusion that because it's his company, he's not stealing those boxes. But the thing is...
I mean, you are still, because you're not 100% shareholder.
Yeah, exactly. He's not 100% shareholder. He's not thinking about the, the
low... it wasn't that time.
It was a little bit, but that is what happens there. And then they're not thinking about the fact that, like, whatever guy that runs that warehouse, the manager there, he could get fired because those people got in. The company might decide to move the warehouse to a more secure location in a different country because, this place keeps getting robbed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're still, even if it's your own shit, you're harming a lot of people by stealing that shit. But this is supposed to be a very simple moral lesson. It's like, look, he's still a good person because he's only taking from his own company. It's like, okay, so you fuck over your own...
from his own family.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so the drug addict that takes his mom's diamonds, he's totally justified in doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes through all this and eventually gets sent to prison where he gets the shit kicked out of him and he fights off the other prisoners and basically
he doesn't get the shit kicked out of him. No one can touch him because he magically has kung fu powers.
Well, he also he does get punched a bunch, but they do drag him off and they're like, yeah, we're not saving you from them, we're saving them from you because
they never actually explain where he got all of his combat proficiency because he fought like 6 dudes at once and he's just a spoiled rich kid up to this point.
Well, I think at this point it's implied that he's been out and like living rough for a year or two now.
So there's so many people out there. I was gonna say hobos, you know what I mean? But like they're all fucking judo masters.
I don't think he was a judo master either. At this point, it was like just street fighting. Like he had no training. He was just a brawler. He gets the kung fu stuff later.
I know, but like again, the people he was fighting have probably been on the street their whole fucking lives, and there were 6 of them, and there was 1 of him.
Yeah. He does have a little bit. I mean, it's a superhero movie. He does have a little bit of the fighting prodigy going on there, but I think that it was tenuously. Again, like just like with him stealing from the factory, I think it's one of those things you're not supposed to dig too deeply into. It's one of those. It's just a narrative element. If you think about it too much, it doesn't make sense. I can see. Yeah. Anyway, this is where he gets approached he gets put in solitary and he gets approached by Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. He's like, they're taking my daughter.
What? Is that from something?
Taken.
Oh, right, yeah, because it's Liam Neeson. Yeah, in my notes I just kept calling him Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, not Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gives him an offer to climb a mountain and steal a flower, and then he'll train him to be awesome.
That wasn't euphemism, by the way.
Yeah, he actually has to climb a mountain, find a blue flower, bring it to them in this mountain temple, and then he teaches him to be a ninja. Literally.
It's just such a dumb sentence, though. I'm sorry. I know that's what happened.
But it's, yeah.
Then
so
he teaches him to be a ninja.
It is exactly what happened. Anyway, so he gets trained to be a ninja and taught all this cool stuff and this moralizing about using fear against your enemies and so on and so on.
And then they do the Assassin's Creed ceremony.
Yeah, where it's like, you must kill this criminal.
No, they're like, we will now cut off your finger because for some reason all assassins do that in games and films.
Did they cut off his finger?
Did they not?
No.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I don't think they did. He still has full hands.
Full hands. What am I thinking of? I watched like recently when they did that. Maybe I'm just thinking of John Wick.
Yeah, you might be. That doesn't happen in the movie.
Did they burn his finger or something? I'm sure there was some kind of. They had the rod.
The ceremony is
they burning rod.
The ceremony is they do the fear juice into the thing and have him walk the gauntlet of ninjas.
Yeah, but they have like a brand.
Not for him.
I'm sure they did.
They don't. Go back and watch. They don't. So then his rite of passage is he has to kill a criminal. And this is where he refuses, and he has to fight off all the other ninjas. The monastery blows up, and then he makes his way back to the States.
Again, Batman never kills anyone unless they're ninjas.
Unless they're ninjas don't count. They're just shadows.
And explosives, because he's not the one actively killing the person. He just sets the explosive off that kills them all. And the fire.
It's like, I don't kill people, dynamite kills people.
But I saved this one person, so it's alright. And this definitely won't come back to haunt me.
Did you watch the College Humor Badman series?
Yes. I saw some of them anyway. Where it's like
there's one where he like...
The Bane one.
The one I'm thinking of is the one where he's got the penguin like in a ice locker or something like that, and he's killing people, and he doesn't realize it. He he throws a batarang into a guy's face, and they're just like, what happened to not killing people? And he's like, I didn't kill him. He's just asleep. He's resting.
God, another. I don't just get all these things popping up. I think it's Instagram or something. Someone was doing a meme where it was like, oh yeah, all those times in Arkham Asylum where I threw those sharp batarangs at people's faces and knocked them out.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is where he's walking down the airstrip and there's Alfred with the private jet, and they greets him again. They have a little heart to heart, and then it's like it's going to be interesting bringing you back from the dead, and they wanted to take the company public and do all this stuff while you were gone, and it's like Bruce is like, oh, it's a good thing I left everything to you then. And Alfred's like, yep, you can borrow the rolls if you like, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure you bring it back with a full tank of gas.
Yeah. And then we get Morgan Freeman.
Yep, Morgan Freeman playing
when I first met Batman.
Something Fox? Lucius Fox.
Lucius Fox. Wow, I'm surprised you remember that.
So Wayne comes back and he starts off strong by flirting with the current CEO's secretary, and then jumping in on a board meeting, and then he said, I just want to be a part of the company that my parents started, and he wants to go to applied R&D or something like that, which is a nothing department that Lucius Fox runs, and that's Morgan Freeman. And this is where Batman gets all his equipment from. And there's a lot of fun scenes where he's slowly becoming a vigilante, and every time he fucks up, he goes back to Lucius Fox and is like, you know what, I want this.
Yeah, making it very obvious what is going on to Lucius Fox. Like, I get that he's God.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't have to be that fucking obvious.
Well, I think very quickly, Fox realizes what's going on.
And like
he just
the very first time he asks for something, he's like, "Why would you need this?"
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's like when he asked for the cape, he's like, what do you need this for? He's like, base jumping.
Yeah.
And
I got a lot of cats.
Yeah, one of the things that I think Bruce says in that scene, it's like, listen, if you're uncomfortable about any of this, and Lucius is just like, the way I see it, Mr. Wayne, all of this stuff is yours anyway.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just, they have a good dynamic. This is Batman building up. It's where he first gets in contact with Gordon.
I'm glad there's, no requirement for signing off from anyone else when you're just handing out a tank to an individual.
That is interesting, yeah. I'm sure he got the proper permits. And
yeah.
It's probably road legal.
Even though, yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so again, one of those things you're probably not supposed to think about too hard.
Road legal? It's twice the size of the road.
I was waiting for you to catch that. Oh my god.
Sorry, God.
Anyway, so there's all there's a montage of stuff happening where he gets back in contact with not gets back in contact. He contacts Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, and it's like, oh, I hear you're like one of the only honest cops out there, and he basically forces him
gets in contact by threatening his life.
Well, threatening his life with a stapler.
Yeah,
he put a stapler to the back of the guy's head, so
that's still not cool.
No, it isn't. No, it's which is when he realized he needed the base jumping cape because he fell off a escape ladder, fire escape.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking for. Oh, and he also gets back in contact.
Way, but
we are.
Keep going.
He gets in contact with Rachel, who catches him swimming in a fountain with two supermodels.
He doesn't swim in the fountain. He's just fucking stupid.
But it's part of his cover. That's right after Alfred points out that people are wondering why this billionaire has no social life. They're gonna wonder who this new guy is right after you came back, and he's like, well, what do billionaires usually do? He's like, I don't know, drive expensive cars, buy things that aren't for sale, date supermodels.
I think my least favorite part of the whole film is any part that had the car in it. Honestly, I fucking hate that car.
The Batmobile car.
Yeah, it looks cool. Don't get me wrong, but everything they did with it was stupid.
Yeah, I won't deny that. But
also, for a very peace-loving pacifist motherfucker. And yet we find out that his car has literally got rockets loaded into it ready.
Oh yeah, but the rockets only kill things. Rockets don't kill people.
Yeah, they just break cement blocks, which cause trains to crash, which kills a person.
Anyway, so to wrap up the movie, you get to the end, and it turns out that Gotham is slated for destruction because...
The dining hall scene, actually, first.
Didn't we just talk about that? This is the one with the supermodels, right?
No, the party at his manor.
Oh, right.
So I feel like you enjoyed that scene.
I did, yeah.
I imagine.
So there's a big party being thrown at his mansion, and this is when he's first approached by Ra's al Ghul in Gotham, and it's kind of revealed that A, he didn't die when the monastery blew up, and B, he needs to destroy Gotham. Because, they're like, whenever a civilization becomes too decadent or a city becomes too decadent, it must be, wiped out and begun again. And he names a bunch of other cities in history that went down, Rome, Carthage, like all these other different places. And,
like the Templars in Assassin's Creed.
Basically, yeah. The Templars were assassins. They're ninjas! Yeah, and Bruce decides he needs to get everyone else out of there because, he realizes that they're all in danger, and he does it in the greatest way possible.
I find it super fucking cringy, but I knew you'd love it.
It is wicked cringy, but I still enjoy watching it. He just walks around pretending to be fucking wasted and a spoiled brat. Just like, thank you all for coming here and drinking my booze and, pretending to like me and stuff like that, and essentially just is such an obnoxious asshole that everyone is just offended and leaves the party. I think he actually kicks him out too, like technically.
Yeah, he says everyone go home, go away.
Yeah, get the fuck out of my house. And that was all. And then the mansion, burns down because of the fight that happens in there and everything. Because of ninjas. And then he fights off the ninja. Oh no, sorry. There's also the thing with Arkham.
I've missed over the whole Scarecrow plot, but it doesn't matter. We're way over time.
Let's finish it up. Scarecrow scares some people. He has fear gas. The fear gas is going to be ignited, and that's how they're going to finish off Gotham City, because everyone's going to get really afraid and then beat the shit out of each other and kill each other. The whole city will collapse. That's the plan. Bruce manages
and it works.
It does work, but only on like one particular little island, and they isolate.
6th of Gotham.
Yeah, so they isolate that and then contain it, and they use the fear gas antitoxin to allow some people to go in and restore order, and then Bruce Wayne doesn't kill Ra's al Ghul by allowing his train to crash into a thing and blow up.
Yeah. And fucking tons of civilians would have died. Probably most of that city's segment would be dead.
But he didn't kill him. Fear killed him. Remember,
all the trials that he's in afterwards.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Oh god. Okay, yeah, we are way over, but we had a lot to talk about. I needed to gush over Arcane and Batman. Alright, it is Christmas time, so it is time for the Christmas segment. So, look forward to that. But until then, this is the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wild card, which this week is our Christmas quiz. And Blue had been standing up.
Is it Christmas? I didn't realize.
Blue had been standing up for the entirety of the time since we ended the last segment, and I didn't know why until right now. That is an amazing hat.
It is, isn't it?
Oh my god.
But I am the Christmas wizard.
You are now the Christmas quizzer.
I have slain Rudolph. Actually, it's not Rudolph, he's got a black nose. And now I wear him. I am Christmas shaman. Yes.
Oh yes, Christmas shaman. What quiz?
And
what
Christmas
knowledge?
Shaman comes with a quiz for you.
What knowledge will you test for me today?
With my jingly bells. Woo! Sorry. People listening to this are not going to understand what the fuck's going on.
Yes.
Just...
Blue is sitting there with wearing a pair of aviators and a giant disembodied reindeer head with little jester bells hanging off of the antlers.
Mm-hmm. It looks cute, by the way, not horrendously gory.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it kind of sounds.
It's like a little reindeer plushy hat.
Yeah. Okay. Cool ears as well.
Yep. Are you wearing your headphones
yes.
over that or under that?
They're behind it.
God. Okay. Well.
But yes. Questions 15 for this Christmas quiz, as there always are, traditionally. Kaiser. I am getting the stopwatch. Do you remember how much I normally give you? It's like a minute, right?
I think it was a minute and a half.
A minute and a half? No, fuck off. You're not getting a minute and a half.
Okay, fine, a minute.
You normally answer in like the first 10 seconds anyway.
True.
Alright. A minute is on the clock. For all those at home, I think there aren't any specific to Kaiser questions in this one as far as I recall. So, good luck, and as usual, I hope you beat
Play along at
Kaiser.
home.
Yes. So, question number 1. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What does the word Advent come from in the original Latin? What does it mean?
Advent is Advent's like the beginning of something. Like Advent is like it's the coming of something new or something important. I can't remember if it's actually specific to religion but I know that's what it means in context. Is it like Advent as a word means that? Am I right?
I'm gonna need a final answer. You got 25 seconds.
I mean that is my final answer. Like the coming of something, the beginning of something, the initiation.
I will give you a half point for Advent. In fact, means coming toward.
Coming toward. Okay.
So coming toward.
That was one of those ones that I know what the word means in context, but I'd never actually seen the definition.
Well, yeah, everyone knows what an Advent calendar is, but...
Well, I was thinking of other... I've heard it used in a lot of other places.
I see.
So.
Okay. Question number 2. You didn't have a drink of that because you're half one.
Yeah.
Well, half drink.
So I took a sip.
How many days are in the song X Days of Christmas?
Huh.
This is an easy question. Kids know this one. Kids will know a lot of these.
Honestly, it's been so long since I've sang that song. 12?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Correct!
Nice.
12 Days of Christmas. Don't know why. Maybe it's just because the song was getting too long and they had to cut it short.
It honestly threw me at first because you just said Advent calendar. I was like 25? No, that's not right. And suddenly
imagine how long the song would be if it was 25 days.
I mean, I remember, I don't remember the song being that long. It can't be.
I mean, to be fair, it's pretty hard to make 13 sound goodness.
True. It's not a very lucky number.
Yeah. Okay, question number 3. What colour was Santa's original coat?
Oh, this is tricky.
There are 2 potential answers.
So Santa was, and you probably have this question later, but he's based on like German folklore.
Saint Nick.
I'm going to say, I want to say it was like kind of like an ash gray kind of color.
Is that your final answer?
It's either that or white and gold, but I'll go with my first instinct and say gray.
Okay, the original depiction of Santa Claus was a tan coat.
I was closer with white and gold because that
or
would...
occasionally green.
Green.
it wasn't until Coca-Cola came along and they made his coat red and everyone thought it was red.
Alright, so not even partial on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got half of the answers correct exactly so far.
Yeah, out of 3.
Right. Now for a question for your religious knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What animals were present at the birth of Christ?
Oh crap! I should know this.
See, when I looked this up, I thought there was another one, but I was wrong.
Well, they were in a manger, so I know. I want to say there were either,
yes, well done. You've got the manger bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There were either donkeys or mules. There were sheep, goats, and pigs. I don't remember if there were horses. There may have been camels. I think there were camels too. Is there any certain number of these? Is a threshold? Do I have to get all of them?
There are 2.
There are only 2?
There are only 2.
What?
Yep. 6
so
seconds.
The nativity scene we had when I was growing up had
Name
a lot more animals.
4 seconds.
Pigs and mules.
Okay. So when I looked at this question, I was certain there were sheep.
So was
because,
I.
I mean, it was the shepherds.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a donkey.
Okay.
Classically the Little Donkey song.
Yep.
Can't get that. And an ox.
Crap. And I said mule, which is only half donkey. Yeah.
Well, you did say donkey or a mule, so I'm happy with that. Sorry, fuck me. It's Christmas. I'll give you a half point for getting donkey.
The generosity, the Christmas spirit.
Indeed. And then you just started lifting off farm animals. I'm like,
well, the thing is,
this is just the old McDonald version of this.
We had a really nice like wooden nativity set when I was growing up, and I'm 90% sure there were more animals than that. Like there were sheep and other things.
You probably got the camels because the wise men rode in on the camels, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
But
that's
they
true.
Weren't actually at the nativity, I'm guessing.
I'm thinking of the guests that showed up later.
Also, yeah, the after party. If I get any of these questions wrong, because I mean, as solid as the lore of Father Christmas and Christmas is, the internet has its own opinions on things.
Oh yeah.
But yes, this is what I have found when I was doing my research.
These aren't like super historically accurate, well-researched things. This is a fun quiz game that a lot of the time...
it's not like someone could accidentally kill themselves by not knowing that a donkey and an ox were there at the manger, but, you know, I'm not trying to offend if I do. Right, question number 5. Roughly how long do Christmas trees take to grow?
Huh. That's a good question.
I don't know how long a normal tree takes to grow. But,
well, they don't need to get as big as normal trees, so you can grow them in a much shorter period of time. I'm going to say... I'm caught between 2 answers. I'm going to say 4 years.
Is that your final answer?
Yep.
Something like. How long do Christmas trees take to grow? Between 6 and 10 years.
I lowballed it.
Yeah. That was quite a big bracket as well.
Yeah, there was a Christmas tree farm near where I grew up. Like they did other things than that, but they had fields where they just grew Christmas trees. And I was trying to think back, like how often I saw the fields rotate, but I got it wrong.
Okay, question number 6, a sciencey one, very out of key for Christmas. If you were to melt an inch of snow, approximately what fraction would you have in water?
I'm assuming you want the measurement in volume.
I would like a fraction of the yes.
Well, so I think you'd probably, and See, I don't know whether it'd give you in ounces or milliliters or...
So if 1 inch by inch cube,
Hmm.
inch by inch cube, is 100%, then when it's melted, how much of it will it actually flow?
Okay. Gotcha. Probably...
Yeah, 15 seconds.
The snow isn't very dense. I'm going to say 1/16.
Okay. I'm going to stop the clock. 1/10, approximately.
Okay.
So I will give it to you. Because I was expecting you to go way over. But alright, it's tiny. Yeah.
Yeah, snow isn't very, very dense, just because it's in a crystalline format. Water actually, just fun little scientific factoid here. So you said you were giving me that one.
Yep.
Fun little scientific factoid. Water is one of the only liquids out there that when it freezes, it actually becomes less dense and lighter than when it's a liquid. So most of the time, when things become a solid, they become denser and they sink through the liquid. And it was pointed out that it's one of the reasons that water supports aquatic life so well, because otherwise, it would just freeze and then sink, and then that would be cold on the bottom and freeze and sink, and eventually the whole ocean would just freeze because it would just keep freezing and sinking. So the fact that ice floats is one of the reasons that water supports life as well as it does in terms of like things living in the water.
Yeah. Okay, question number 7. Oh god, this one. Okay. What causes Rudolph to have a red nose, and what function does it serve?
What? There's the lore behind this?
Aside from helping to guide Santa's sleigh. Because that's too obvious.
Rudolph with
cold
your
hard
nose.
scientific fact.
Oh, God. I didn't know there were scientific facts around this, but if I were to design a red-nosed reindeer, like think of the biological things that could cause it, it'd have to be some kind of like bioluminescent chemical reaction like what you get with fireflies, or with electric eels, honestly, or those ugly-ass fish that have the little thing that dangle in front of their head that glow, that live way down.
Anglerfish.
Yeah, anglerfish. I don't.
Rudolph is luring other small creatures to him so he can massacre them.
Yes, I don't actually know what kind of chemical. I'm not a chemistry person. I'm going to say phosphorus.
Okay.
I'm going to say I think phosphorus is involved.
Well, turns out that actually reindeer in general have more capillaries in their noses, about 25% more than the humans. Which helps blood circulate to their nose and their brain, keeping them warm, obviously while they're in flight. And it is therefore fair to assume that Rudolph has a higher percentile of capillaries in his nose, which makes it red.
I was going for actually having it glow. I was not. I was trying to think of a chemical reaction that would actually make his nose glow.
I did not mention glowing in the question, so...
Yeah, I just assumed.
If you got that right, I've been fucking amazed, but I have given you a lot of easy ones.
Yeah, and you did give me the snow density one.
Also, it's just interesting that reindeers have
more capillaries, yeah.
warm noses.
But I mean, it does makes it fascinating the way that species are adapted to live in extremely cold climates, like the way polar bear fur works. And then there's everybody's favorite cute animal video, the chunky seals.
The chunky seals. Oh, good boys. Right, question number 8. What is the name of the town in How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
Whoville.
Hey! Right away.
Knew that one right off the bat.
Boom.
I actually, with the moment you said the Grinch, I started like playing through the opening paragraphs of it in my head.
Yeah.
All the who's down in Whoville. What?
Have you seen it much?
The original animated one, I've
once.
seen. We watched that one all the time when I was a kid for Christmas. Like, I loved that movie.
Well, like if you, because it also is another question later on, so keep your eye out. Question number 9. Name 5 Christmas treats. Specifically Christmas-related treats.
Figgy pudding.
1.
Um,
I didn't even have it on my list, but it's 1.
okay. Let's see here. Christmas treats.
40 seconds.
I don't like candy. This is hard for me. Probably some kind of pie.
I'm going to need you to be more precise than that.
I'm gonna fail this one bad.
Yeah, I can't believe you're missing some fucking obvious ones.
Candy canes.
Okay, yep, that counts. 15 seconds.
Eggnog.
Correct.
Mulled wine.
Correct. 8 seconds, 1 more to go.
Some kind of cinnamon thing. Hot chocolate? Would that count?
No, because it's not a specific Christmas thing.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck.
Time's up.
4 out of 5. What were some of the ones you had on your list?
How the fuck did you miss Christmas pudding?
Because it's not a thing over here.
What? Seriously? Okay. Other things.
I think
gingerbread.
You do have puddings. Yeah, gingerbread. That's one. Yeah, I should have thought of that one.
Stollen from Germany.
Do you say Stalin?
Stollen. Yeah. Have you not heard Stollen?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Panettone. I think that's Italian.
Never had that.
Christmas cake.
Fair, but I guess yeah, cake. I was kind of thinking that'd be too generic.
Mince pie. You always got that when you said pie, but I needed mince pie before it.
Yep. Again, more common in the UK, but also I love meat pies. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. No, and the other ones I have on my list were eggnog, mulled wine. Yeah, the other 2 you got weren't even on my list. I hadn't even thought about it. Candy cane and
figgy pudding.
What's the other one? Figgy pudding. I never had figgy pudding, I don't think.
I don't know if I have either, but I know it's in Christmas songs, so it kind of just...
The moment you say it is, I just hear the song.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 to 5.
I'm going to give you a half point again, because you kind of got 4.5 out of 5. Very generous today, I know, but you did get a decent amount.
It is the season of giving.
And question number 10.
Okay.
What is a Christingle?
What the fuck is that?
A Christingle.
A Christingle.
It is a religious
I
thing,
mean...
I'll give you that hint.
Is a what?
It is religiously based in Christianity.
I can't stop thinking of the alternate name for Santa Claus, which is Kris Kringle. But that's not this. Christingle. I've never heard this before in my life, so I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to say it is some sort of like...
15 seconds. I think this is one where you either know or you don't.
It's a small gift that you give to the needy or something like that.
Alright, time's up. So, a Christingle, and I only even thought about this question because I remember it doing it as a child, and I've never seen it since then, but it is a thing. It's an orange wrapped in a red ribbon, which is decorated with dried fruit or sweets on skewers, and then there's a candle on top of it.
That actually sounds really cool. I don't know how I've never heard of that. That's a really cool little... I like that.
So, a bit of extra info for it. So the orange is meant to symbolise the world. The candle gives the light in the dark, like the love of God.
Yeah.
The red ribbon represents the blood of Jesus shed for us.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 sweet sticks represent the 4 points of the compass, as well as the 4 seasons. And the sweets themselves, or fruits, represent the fruits of the earth.
That's really cool. Okay. I learned something.
It's apparently it happens between, I think they said November and February, but not generally it happens. You'll make one of these things, bring it to church on Christmas Eve. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that.
And then obviously the kids love it because they get sweets afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I remember it. But
Well, it's like the healthier kind of sweets, you know. You get the orange.
It's a good thing for getting people into religion.
Get the kids some citrus.
Yeah. Right. Question number 11. What were Christmas crackers originally called?
Describe Christmas crackers.
Because
Because I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right thing.
the thing that you pull with another person and it makes a loud bang.
Those things. Yeah, okay.
What the fuck do you not know what that is?
We don't... I know what those are. We don't call them that.
Oh, what do you call them?
We actually... no, they don't really get used in the U.S. at all.
I'll give you some extra time for this one. Cause,
all right, what were they originally called?
Yeah.
I'm just... In my head, I was thinking about it, and I just heard just like a generic army voice going, "Duck and cover!"
Okay. 20 seconds.
I'm going to say that they were probably called, I don't know, party poppers. I have no idea.
Okay, so the timer. They were originally named Cossacks, or that's spelled Cossaqueus, after the Cossack soldiers, different spelling, who would ride their horses and shoot their guns in the air. So I guess it's the bang always the... Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Cossacks were... I believe it's from, the region, south of Russia, down in the Balkans kind of area. Huh. Interesting.
There you go.
I had no idea. I'm happy with this quiz. I'm learning things.
Question number 12. Where were penguins first discovered?
Oh, that's a good question. By whom? I imagine they were discovered pretty quickly by the people native to the area that they're from.
I'm not saying.
Okay. I'm getting just assume the British, and I'm going to say probably... Oh. It might be Iceland. But it might be New Zealand. Or it could be...
I'll give you a hint and say that you're nowhere near.
Oh, really? I'm not? Okay.
Yeah. 15 seconds.
Fuck. I'm going to say South Africa.
Okay, is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
I shouldn't have given you that clue.
Why, am I right?
So there were... I can't remember the exact name, the exact group of people, but they were sailing past the southern tip of South Africa.
And they saw penguins.
And they saw the penguins, the strange birds.
So I figured...
Yes.
It was either going to be somewhere in the northern hemisphere, and it was going to be medieval explorers that found them. But then I was thinking, wait, I don't think penguins are native to the northern hemisphere, at least not in Europe. And then I was like, okay, so it has to be somewhere in the south. That's what led me to New Zealand. But then, yeah, South Africa. Okay, nice.
Yeah?
I'll take it.
Well, it wouldn't have been Japan or something, because they would have been eating them, so...
I also don't think that there are any penguins that far to the north.
East. Oh, yeah. Right. Question number 13. Man, we're flying through them today.
We really are.
In an article on Jezebel,
Oh, God.
what is the main problem? What is the main problem with How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
Knowing that website, it's probably that he got redeemed in the end. Or maybe it's the fact that... let's see, hold on. Let me think about what happens in that movie. So he steals all the presents, and then all the people kind of come together and get happy, and they realize that Christmas is about all being family and, having a community, and he sees that, and he realizes, I've done a horrible thing. I'm going to say, knowing what kind of mean-spirited people write for things on that website, I'm going to say it was that he got redeemed in the end and that everyone forgave him.
Okay, stop the clock. The article was about how rude and mean the people of Whoville were to the Grinch, who was just an independent bachelor living with his dog up on the mountain. He didn't want to be disturbed, and there they were making up songs about how he's a mean one, and yeah, how much they hated him.
They didn't sing that song though. That was the narrator singing that song.
Well, yeah.
This person's a moron.
They were mean about. Well, they didn't say specifically Whoville, but they said that the film was being overtly cruel to the Grinch
because he's a jackass. But he's a hermit out there. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Oh yeah. God. All right, so
that doesn't count. No.
I gave that person way too much credit.
Well, no, you didn't give them enough credit. You thought they were going to be an asshole
to the Grinch. Actually, yeah, that's true. They were being sympathetic to the Grinch and hated the Whovilles.
Yeah. Especially because he had like a tough upbringing or something, didn't he?
That's something that's only in the live-action movie.
Right.
In the live-action movie,
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, not the cartoon, because it's called something else.
I thought that they were both called How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Maybe. I thought that was just called The Grinch.
Yeah, in the cartoon, he's just some random dude living up in the mountains. The live-action one was the one where they felt like they needed to give him some kind of a tragic backstory, which was stupid.
It was specifically live-action. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Next.
Question number 14. In the Doctor Who episode The Runaway Bride, featuring the first appearance of Donna Noble,
what
was the basic plot, and how did the Doctor win?
Let's see here. Basic plot was that Doctor had just flown away from some tragic event. Donna somehow magically gets teleported into the TARDIS. She goes ballistic, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Because she got teleported out of her own wedding.
Remember, you have a limited time, so keep it brief.
He manages to get her back to the wedding. They have the reception without her. It all kind of works out. There's this big spider evil lady who has dug a giant hole and is spawning all of her babies. And Donna Noble, the guy that's marrying her, is just marrying her to use her to breed these particles for the spider person, so the spider person will take him into space. The Doctor gets really pissed and kills all the babies, and they blow up the spaceship, and then Donna decides not to go with him.
Okay, I'm giving you half a point because you missed some key points.
Well, I had a minute.
Yeah, I know, but you spent a lot of time on the wedding bit, which is kind of unimportant.
That's what I remember about the episode.
A large ancient... this is what I wrote. A large ancient arachnid made a deal with Donna's co-worker so that it could hatch the eggs at the centre of the Earth, which is what the Earth formed around originally when the Earth was born. It formed around this, like, arachnid ship.
Yeah.
Then this arachnid brought their own giant star-shaped spiderweb ship to fire on the Earth, which gets blown up by tanks, by Torchwood.
I did say that.
You did say that. And the Doctor wins, air quotes, by flooding the entire chamber with the River Thames.
Yeah, and I said it kills the babies.
And drowning the new arachnids climbing up from the centre of the Earth. So I'm going to give you half a point.
I just found...
Maybe that's a little unfair, but I feel like, yeah.
You've been more than generous so far. That's fine. We found very different parts of that episode memorable. Like, I don't know. I was
like just having a wedding. Like, okay. But
Donna was like a character that annoyed the crap out of me the first time I saw her. But she grew on me as a character significantly.
Character development was on point.
Yeah. She ended up being a really good character in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
All right, are we on the final question?
For the final question, it's going to be a tough one.
I'm ready.
What's the best gift you have ever received at Christmas?
Ooh, God. There's no right answer to this one.
Depends whether I like your answer or not.
Well, if I have to give an answer that you like... don't know. I've received. We're already over. So like I'll give an answer. I've already settled on the answer in my head. I'm not going to change that. But I want to give some context before I say it out loud. So I'm asking to pause the time limit because it is the final question.
Right.
We got some time.
It's not a time question.
Basically, I'm probably one of the worst people to get a present for because, in general, I don't really want anything, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm very awkward when I receive a compliment. I'm very awkward when I receive a gift because I don't know. It's not something I'm expecting. It's not something that I necessarily am like looking forward to or anything like that. Like I'm glad that people want to get me a Christmas present or something like that, but
I think what you're trying to say is it's not the physical so much as the
emotional thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm much more Christmas for me, as much as it sounds like a cliche, is much more about like I like going home, spending time with family, seeing friends, taking a break from everything.
Or not, because COVID is ravaging the world.
Well, I mean, I'm still going out and seeing family. Like, it's not stopping me. But I think that it's one that you need to like. I'm going to talk about when I was I probably would have been in middle school, and it had been a long time. Like, let me put it this way: video games were a lot like you had to get like one game and then kind of make do for a while because they're expensive as shit. And so it was one Christmas I got my parents got me a GameCube for Christmas.
Nice.
And I just remember like playing Super Smash Brothers Melee, playing like Wave Racer and all these other like some of the launch titles for it, and just thinking, wow, this thing looks beautiful. And the system was like really cool. It was a cube. It had these tiny ass little discs. And I just remember that morning, playing it at my house with my family, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's a very positive memory.
Yeah. I mean, those really are. I wasn't looking for like, the most expensive thing I ever got.
Yeah, I wasn't.
It's the stuff that you can enjoy as a family.
Exactly, that was the thing. Is like that one sticks out to me because it was just such. You think back on that memory, you get like that warm, fuzzy feeling. That's why I chose that one. There's plenty of other gifts that I've gotten that I've really loved or that like have been special to me from like friends or family before.
Yeah.
But if I had to just think of one that kind of goes along with this whole like wholesome Christmas kind of feel, that.
Bam. There we go.
Do I get a point?
Of course, yes. You get a point. No, it was less than £30. I don't want to say GameCube, I know it's more than £30. Yeah. That was an underrated console, honestly.
I agree. Like, I loved my GameCube.
Yeah. Some really good games in there.
I still have mine. It's back at my parents'. Actually, no, I think it might be in that chest behind me.
Did you have the original Luigi's Mansion?
I did, yes.
That was so much fun.
Luigi's Mansion was a ton of fun. I think that was one of the. So I got the GameCube and they got me 3 games. I think it was some like jet ski racing game. So I think it was like Wave Racer, Super Smash Brothers Melee, and Luigi's Mansion.
I never had Super Smash on GameCube. I only have it on the Wii. On the GameCube, I had Sonic Adventure 2.
I did eventually get that game.
Super Mario Sunshine.
I rented that
Mario
one.
Sunshine?
No, it was Super Mario Sunshine, and I did rent that at one point, but I never owned it.
Luigi's Mansion, like I said. There was one that was like Egomania, which was actually pretty fun.
Never had that.
I'm trying to remember now.
Did you play the Star Fox Dinosaur Planet one?
I've never played a Star Fox game.
Okay, it was weird. It wasn't like a space combat game. It was like a third-person like melee action adventure game, more akin to a Zelda game.
Alright, I'm going to take off my Quizmaster gear because my headphones are slipping off.
Okay.
Ugh.
Oh God. Well, I mean, we're coming up on the end. Oh God.
Oh God.
He's failing. He's failing so hard. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was that was a really good quiz. I actually learned a bit. Oh, and I'm neglecting in what I should be doing right now.
Oh. Oh yeah. How many points did you get?
Yeah, I'm adding them up right now. So. Just shy of half. 7 points.
Nice. Ironically, so you say about your favourite gift. I actually bought someone a GameCube and the original Pikmin, I think it was, for their birthday once.
I did.
Huh?
So my my girlfriend in high school, I think 1 year for her birthday, that's what I got her. I got like, it was, the GameCube had been out for several years at this point. They'd already come out with like, I don't know if the Wii was out at this point, but the GameCube was an older system at this point. But
yeah,
she loved like Nintendo stuff. She never had one, and either she never had one or hers broke or something like that. And so I got her a GameCube, and I got like, you know, a couple games and stuff for her 1 year.
Yeah, that's literally the same as well. I did it for one of my old exes. Wasn't an ex at the time, and yeah, I think I got it off eBay because I don't think nowhere else sells GameCubes.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, because there were no new ones. I got a refurbished one from a GameStop. And I'm glad I remember this. I'm glad I checked it because I opened the box to check it out in the mall food court, and there was a giant fucking chunk taken out of the side of the thing in the plastic. And so I took it back. I'm like, look at this. And so they swapped it out for a new one. But it's funny that
one.
Well, yeah, another refurbished one. But it's funny that we both did that exact same thing.
Yeah, man, no, that was a good freaking console.
It really was.
They're pretty expensive these days.
Well, yeah, because they didn't sell as well as I think they should have. And like you said, it was an underrated console.
Also, at that time, most consoles didn't come with screens. I was until like the PS. In fact, no, none of the PlayStations really typically had screens. My PS1 had a screen, and I had a PS2 with a screen.
Screen?
But most PS1s with a screen.
Like the screens that you could attach to the console or something like that?
Yeah, it came attached to the console.
Oh.
PS1 and PS2 I assume you didn't.
No, I never did. I mean, I knew they existed, but I never got one.
It's because I'm fortunate enough to have a very nice grandparents, and
they got you.
It was me and my brother, and so generally we had one version that was just the standard version that we hooked up to the TV, and the other one which just had like a small screen built into it, so that we weren't.
There was so when a good chunk of my family lives out in the Midwest, and when I was much younger, we couldn't really afford to fly out there, so when we would go out to visit them, we'd drive. It's like a 2 day. It's a 2 day drive at least, and that's if you're driving 16 hours a day. So they were pretty long haul trips, and of course at that time I was like, 11, so I couldn't drive. And I had a PlayStation 1, and we had
the best console.
This tiny shitty ass little white TV that they had like an antenna on it that my mother would have in the kitchen, so she'd be listening to something or watching something when she was out there, and I bought like this little metal like power converter that plugged into the cigarette lighters in the car.
Yeah. And
I would plug in the PlayStation, that tiny shitty TV. I'd be in the back of the minivan playing Digimon World on our way out to fucking Iowa.
See, we always in my family, me and my brother, wanted one of those inbuilt car seat PlayStations. Our parents would never fucking let us have.
This was literally This was like the fucking ghetto version of that. I just had a tiny TV set that I put on the seat that was plugged into the car.
All of our gaming equipment when we were kids came from our grandparents. Nothing from our parents. Until one day we came home from school and there was a PS3 there. And that was like...
Ah, yes.
My world has changed.
The time has come.
Yeah. This is going to be coming out on Christmas, isn't it? So I assume that most people aren't going to be listening to this on Christmas. It's probably going to be Boxing Day, if anything.
Yeah.
So we hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Indeed. Yeah. I think that's... we had a Christmas quiz, and then we had a couple little wholesome Christmas stories from our youth. But yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you all for listening, and hopefully...
See you for the New Year episode.
That's true. See you for the New Year's.
Ho, ho, ho.